Hello everybody and welcome to Academy of Tone 111. Well, today we have a very special and different episode since our video man is having COVID. So we can't do it from the video studio, and I'm here with my good friend Wolfgang, who did it last minute. I'm sitting in his kind of video studio in his living room, and he lets us do this live stream here. So very special 111, back from Germany. So I landed yesterday, jet lagged, a few Olympic rings under the ice, but actually not that bad. My jet lag is pretty good. Yeah, this episode is about what I experienced the last 2 weeks being in America, from NAMM, from people behind the scenes, who I met, and what's the stories that are connected to these people. We prepared a bunch of photos. I didn't get all of them into the stream, but you know, I would say let's start with picture number one. And by the way, I can read the chat here. Good evening to David Matai. I can see Embry Smith, Marcel Huber is there. Yeah, the Dutch guitar dude is here. So greetings to all of you. Let's see, and we go through some pictures. So this was day one, visiting Strandberg. Strandberg is the company that does guitars totally different from what I'm playing, like, you know, vintage guitars and stuff like 6-string guitars, old school style. Strandberg make all the modern guitars. I think I've shot a very short video. Can we see the video one? This is the team, by the way.
With the team, shortly for the lunch break.
That's the boss. Yeah, this was lunchtime, nobody there. They just left.
And yeah,
Workshop.
great place for setting up guitars.
This is our customer services over there.
Very nice.
Yeah, the proper workbench. Now he explains what's going on. Maybe? Maybe not? Yeah.
Just to work on.
Are the guitars being checked before they ship?
Yes, we receive and inspect every guitar, every single guitar. And that's what our warehouse.
And in the background is the boss again. Yeah. And they are very proud. They have a lot of warehouses, so you can see there is a lot of, looks like external production coming in, and they do all the quality checking in this workshop. Very nice guys. Yeah, they have a nice and great company with, I don't know how many people, maybe about 10 or so, and great company. And they were giving us a few guitars for our booth at NAMM. So we were sorted with 8-string guitars, 7-string guitars, and of course we had some other brands like Yamaha. Vintage, of course, gave us some guitars and whatnot. You will see some more of the pictures. Okay, let's see some more pictures, and I can explain. Well, this is the team completed. Yeah, Rich on the left, Kai, and Lucas, the guy with the baseball cap. He is our video man, and he caught COVID really heavy. So actually, we were lucky to have him like 3 days in good condition, and then yeah, he caught COVID and had to stay in our apartment, and finally went back home for recovery and get well soon. Next week, I'm hoping he's fine again, and then we have a proper live stream from our regular studio. Okay, next picture, please. We have tons of pictures and we have tons of stories. Yeah, that's the video man. And this was the gear that we are used to shoot our video that we streamed. And you can see he's kind of pale. You can already see the COVID is catching him. Okay, next picture. Let's see. Yeah, this is the scenario we had when we were shooting the video for the release 2 weeks ago, and you can see our little setup here. Yeah, and the camera, of course. This is how it looks when you shoot a video in an apartment, Airbnb apartment. Okay, more pictures. Yeah, it's me, of course. And of course the self-made fan, because we have the hacked photo apparatus into video camera. Good quality, low budget. Our company, heroes, work here. That's very important. I saw this at this medical center and thought, yeah, we need to have this, because we made things work that actually were hard. Yeah. So next day I had a gig at some cheesecake factory near the exhibition center, and this guy is Josh, a crazy guy. I bumped into him in Germany, in Hamburg. I was playing there at #1, and then suddenly somebody was waving, "I want to play with you," and then I brought him on the jam, and he was a very positive surprise. So this is the first time we kind of blind dated on stage. And then the funny thing is, you go there and just by accident out there, he was there again. He didn't know that I was playing there because it wasn't announced. I was just a surprise guest for the evening. So things happen like that, unbelievable. And so this is my rig on that particular gig. Maybe you can see this is across the entrance of the convention center in Anaheim, where the Cheesecake Factory is. Yeah, this was my gig, and I was gigging actually with Roni Lee. Yeah, I got some other pictures. Wait a minute, let me show you a proper picture of Roni Lee here. Can we see that? Yeah. This was taken at another gig that I played with her in San Diego. Yeah, there's more pictures to come. I will show you later, but the first gig now here at the Cheesecake Factory outdoors. And was a nice surprise to be kind of guesting with another band. And Roni is also AMP1 user. She has a Mercury, so yeah, was an easy one for me. And she also has a blue box. And then when she plays his big rig, she has a Soldano, because she's good friends with Mike Soldano. And I had done my little A/B testing on stage to find out if I can get a setting close to the Soldano, which I think I could manage. And then in the end, she played the whole gig with the AMP1, because I could get the sound even closer. We didn't have to change. And yeah, this was funny, because you go on stage and there are some musicians out there, and it's like, what are we playing next? And then this song came up. I've never played that song. It's a typical American thing called Tennessee Whiskey. And Neil Turbin of Anthrax, the singer, was singing it. Killer singer. He's maybe known from Anthrax as the metal guy, but he has a beautiful soul vibe, and yeah, he could sing this song in a very nice way. He was on stage, and was Larry Mitchell there at that day? Maybe he was. We played 3 gigs together, and I don't even remember the people that I played with. Anyway, let's have some more pictures so I can tell you what's going on. This was the bass player. Sorry, I forgot his name, but we found out that he was playing with Andy Susemil from Germany, who was living in LA for several years. And he was the bass player of that night. Yeah, forgive me for not remembering the name anymore. Okay, next picture. Let's see. And then the next band that went on, the guy with a gray beard, his string broke on his Les Paul, so he simply, I just simply gave him my Strat so he could finish the gig with my Strat, and he was fine. I mean, it didn't sound as rich as his Les Paul, but yeah, pros, they don't care. They just pick up a guitar and play. Now we are at the trade shows. The first guy I bumped into was Guillaume Pil from Torpedo or Two Notes, the company that makes those beautiful speaker emulators like the Torpedo, the Cap M, the Cap X, the Captor, and all those stuff. And yeah, we know each other for a long time. We bump any trade show, any event, we simply meet. So he was kind of the first to say hello. Okay, let's see. And then, yeah, following with Tom Quayle, of course, and the guy, what's his name again? He used to work for Dawson's. Man, I forgot the name. Probably you know. Put it in the comments below. But Tom Quayle, killer, Mr. Legato King, of course. And I might see him again at the Guitar Summit in Mannheim in September. Maybe we play together again. We did already. Let's see if he is there. It's such a nice guy, and of course, unbelievable player. He does all the tricks that I can't do. Well, everybody is doing his thing. Okay, so what's coming next? There's Trey Xavier on the right from the Gear Gods, the man pointing at, well, Pete Thorne in the middle. And Pete Thorne, was visiting, like me, us, or they both were visiting our booth. And again, Pete Thorne is at Guitar Summit. And of course, we will have him on the Electric Guitar Night. And yeah, I was meeting Pete just like the night before I was leaving to Germany. So I met him at his video studio, actually, where his videos are all shot. But this photo comes kind of last in this stream. Yeah, let's see what else we have. Yeah, Red Shull to the right and Paul Davis to the left. Red Shull, a huge YouTuber. I don't know how many followers he has. Nice guy. Good friends of Rick Beato. And we all know Paul Davis from his tasteful videos. The Dutch guy. He lives, of course, in the Netherlands. Red comes from Atlanta. And this is a small scene. Everybody in this scene knows each other. I mean, these YouTubers, they know each other, so they kind of come in in bunch of people. It's like they're never alone. They always meet their friends, and then they walk around with more friends. Yeah, let's see. I think there's a bunch of YouTubers coming. Of course, Rick Beato, the one and only. Good news is, I heard that Rick is coming to Germany. He will do some performances where he is reading and playing. And if I have a chance, I'll get him to do other things as well. We are in contact. And, once he's in Germany, I will maybe get him to Guitar Summit or to other things I'm involved in. I'm not sure if he will visit my home. I visited him as his home. Maybe I can pick him up and show him my little home and the Academy of Tone studio, whatever. It's on my wish list. You never know what happens with these guys. They are totally busy, and but nice, very knowledgeable guys, and actually very nice people. it's always big fun with Rick Beato. So, and this was like, I think, one of the very quick and professional videos we've done. Mitch Gallagher from Sweetwater simply showed up and said, "Hey man, I think you have a highlight of the show product here. Would you mind to do a little sneak preview for Sweetwater?" And I know Mitch, and of course, so we did a short, nice video that you can watch on YouTube now on the Sweetwater channel. So if you type in AMPX and Sweetwater, you will see our little video. And I'm a big fan of Mitch Gallagher because the way he explains stuff is very American. It's like he makes product demos nice and tight in a way, and I told him he's kind of my presentation teacher because I talk sometimes a bit too complicated, and he kind of nails it. That's anyway. I'm a fan of Mitch Gallagher's presentations. Then what else is in the pipe? Okay, of course, that's me in front of our backdrop here. And the big theme of the show was, of course, AMPX. And it looked pretty impressive. We had our universe picture here with all the pedals and amps that will be inside AMPX one day. And we also have had this question a lot: where can I pre-order the AMPX? And you go on our BluGuitar website, www.bluguitar.com, and if you click on the AMPX in the picture, you end up at this link here, and there is a pre-order list. So we know who wants one, and then we can contact you and give you updates as soon as we know where we are and when we are able to ship, so we can send that email to you and double check if you still want it, and then we can get a closer idea of a better idea of what amount of AMPX we have to produce in our first and second production run. And mind, we are not shipping before end of the year to Germany, and the rest of the world will follow only at the beginning of next year, which is 23. We have to make a ramp up plan, so it's not possible to have a huge load of products at one shot. The risk is too high. I want to make something that is not killing BluGuitar. So we have to sell a few, get that money, put that back into the next production run, slow. And that is also increasing our time for double checking. If something would be wrong in the German community, we are way faster to react. So that's why I always said we start with Germany first and then the rest of the world. But I hope you understand, because it's good for you guys and it's good for us. And if it's good for both sides, we should do it that way. Yeah, so what else? Okay, this is team assembling our test station. Rich, Kai, Lucas probably took the photo. This is stuff you do when you come to a trade show. You have to assemble the things. Let's see what else. Yeah, that's the team. On the left, Sir Dennis Drum, chairman of JHS, our UK distributor, that is also holding this brand, vintage guitar. And Dennis is a tough guy, I tell you, because I've been there. But since a very hard fight, we became best friends. And that's actually true now over a very, very long time. And I really appreciate it. That's Big D. What's his name? Daniel Cornell, or I don't know. Daddy D, Big D, killer guitar player and singer, of Porcelain Hill, a band from LA, and they play AMP1s occasionally. And yeah, cool guy. I like. It's like Taj Mahal. They do it. They really mean it. They play old school, but in such a convincing way. Killer. That's another. What's the band called? Oh, AMP1 IRIDIUM user. Forgive me for not knowing the names. Next picture, please. This is somebody that you all should know because he is the man behind this guitar as well, Trevor Wilkinson. And Trevor Wilkinson is my dear good friend. We created hardware for the BluGuitar. We created this guitar. We created the white one, and of course we always working on something behind the scenes. And actually, he was my neighbor, being on the opposite side of our backdrop. So you look at the AMPX, and if you would drill a hole in the X, you could see Trev on the other side. So we both booked our booth kind of back to back at the show. So we had a few minutes every day to say hello and talk a little bit, and then, yeah, Trev was all around. Yeah, this was the other side of the Wilkinson booth. So me pointing at AMPX through the walls, and you can see my name besides a lot of other names. I mean, the PH to the right hand after Piesel is Phil X, Joe Perry, a lot of big names, Pete Thorne again, Doug Aldrich, Whitesnake. So a lot of killer players, and I'm kind of in the middle. I'm very proud of that. Thank you. And Paul Rose, another AMP1 user from the UK. And there's a mixture of like guitar players and brands that use the Wilkinson products. And of course, Matt Smith from Texas. If you don't know Matt Smith, I think it's 6-string wrench, you know, where his studio is, and he is one of those killer slide players, a great singer, a producer, a killer guitar player. You know, those guys, they grew up in Texas, they learned all the licks. I mean, I had great times playing with him once, and I remember when we did Try With a Little Help from My Friends. You know, and then there comes the bit. By the way, you know, I'm playing dry, and I can. And then there's the original scream, and he has a technique. He sings a note, and it goes on forever. It's like unbelievably long. I don't know how he can hold the breath or does circular breathing. I don't know. It's like this guy never stopped singing that note. It's like unbelievable. Yeah, Matt Smith, nice guy, such a nice guy. Yeah. This was at the Vintage booth, which is distributed by RBI in the United States, and there you can see this guitar, of course, and my white one. And they had an AMP1 there too, which was kind of where the guy is standing on the right. And yeah, this was used by Rob Chapman, who checked out some of these vintage guitars. Anyway, so maybe you have seen the video. It sounds so good because of AMP1. And then, of course, NAMM nights. This was at the Marriott. At the Marriott, we did kind of the second bar. Second, let's say, bar gig or whatever. This was down in the lobby, and Mitch on the left, me in the middle, and then Larry Mitchell. I think of Mitchell, Larry Mitchell on the left with a red shirt, me in the middle, and then Neil Turbin on vocals again with a hat, and Roni is, on the right. I'm a bit taller, but the tallest guy is definitely Neil. If you stand next to Neil, you have to look like that. Oh my God, yeah. And people seem to enjoy because they were all filming us. So maybe you can see some of the performance on somebody's private phone, maybe on Facebook. I have no idea. Yeah, but this was another great gig. I don't know who else was on stage. Bunch of people. Okay. And then I made a little stop at the vintage guitar show in Costa Mesa. The Costa Mesa show was the first day Joe Bonamassa was there, and I guess he bought everything. So by the time I was coming there was only a few good instruments left, but of course nothing that I would buy because I'm kind of sorted myself. I have everything I want. And let's have a look what I could see. There's a 58 Stratocaster for only $48,500 US. Probably that's missing in your collection. There were some nice Telenecks and Strat necks, so we're talking 5,000 to 6,000 US. Just the neck, not a complete guitar. The rest is missing. What else on the show? There's a lefty Strat, which is kind of rare. Looks like, I'm not sure, can we see 1965? It's definitely the big logo, so must be second half of, I don't get the year, 67 probably. 14,000 for a Strat, that's okay. But you can see there's a lot of cheapo guitars too, but they are not real good old vintage. Cheapo for vintage. Yeah. And I found some pedals. Let's check the other pictures. A real Univibe for only $2,500 US. But it's supposed to be working. I didn't try it out. I know how a Univibe sounds. And the magic of the old Univibes is they have like the real rumbly bass. So they sound a bit thicker. Yep, that's what I like about the old original Univibes. But too big, I don't put one on my pedal board. And this is the Proco Red. As I heard, this is a sought after version. I think I have exactly the same. I will look it up at my place, so we find out later in the next live stream. I'll look at my Red. There is two versions. One is the one with a filter, and then there's an even rarer one that has a tone. I don't think I have a tone one. I have the filter one. Okay, and guess what? I found a Usenkettner Rotosphere, and that is kind of another secret weapon. Wow. And then I told him that this was my idea, and I designed this with Bernd Schneider and Usenkettner back in 1995. And then they had a question, because this is a Mark II, as you can see, with 2 holes on the rotor balance between the high and the low rotor. There's 2 little holes to access the trim pots for the final speed of the low frequency rotor and the high frequency. And besides those 2 holes and a logo that lights up, everything is identical to the Mark I version. And some people were telling me the Mark I version would sound better, but it's bullshit. It is exactly the same circuit. If they sound different, it's just tube tolerance and nothing else. Yeah, this was the shop owner of that Rotosphere Mark II. And then, we took a picture, blah, blah, blah. Okay, another night with Corona, which you can see. Corona means nobody in Corona. Corona. well, Lucas, our video guy, had Corona, so we had to go out by ourselves. And then there's a video. And this next video was actually shot in Corona. Let's have a quick check and guess where we are in Corona.
Okay, we are here in Corona. Corona. Something wrong about Corona. Well, actually, see this girl that wears a mask. Corona is still here. And this is the backyard of a factory in Corona. Is it viral? Yes, it is. Is it big? Yes, it is. Do you know it? Maybe, maybe not. Let's see if we can unveil that secret. Here is any hints? Motorcycles. What company could that be? We don't know. Oh my gosh. More cars, more parking. The big bumpers. This is the parking lot. We take left onto the main street, and here we go. Yoo-hoo! Please come away from me. And it's Fender. Fender. That's the little sign. Fender. Woo. So, that was our factory tour of Fender. You saw it. You saw the parking lot and you saw it. Anyway, greetings from Corona with no Corona. I'm negative. Cheers. Okay,
Yep. So we have been to the Fender factory, but actually we didn't have any time to go inside. It was just because on the way at the beginning from Strandberg Guitars, which is kind of 5 minutes away from Fender, this is where we had a quick stop because I wanted to see, but it's kind of a bit complicated to get factory tours if you are not invited, which I probably will do one day, but we didn't have that time anyway. But I just did this little teasing video for Fender and their big parking lot. Yeah, anyway, so back to the pictures. So this was when we had to drink a lot of Corona. Okay, are we still there, or is if? Okay, I think we had a little dropout here with our internet, but who cares? Let's see if we have more pictures from that. Yeah, okay, this was outside. I liked the street near Santa Monica, I think it was, or was it Venice Beach? I don't know. Anyway, yeah, back that night. More. This was the next day, and at that day we went for Hollywood. And this is, I think, on the way, Sunset Strip, you know, the typical thing with the streets and the palm trees and stuff. And this was the picture that I posted with the Hollywood sign in the back. And on that trip, we did a couple of things. This was actually a nice one. I'm not talking about everything. No, okay. Let's next picture. This was when I was at Pete's studio, which is in the valley. Valley is the San Fernando Valley, which is on the other sides of the Hollywood Hills. And this was taken apart by BluGuitar, and actually a new guitar in my collection, which is a 67 Fender Telecaster. You know, I have not such a great Telecaster. Now I do have one, because I bought that guitar in Los Angeles. And it's still affordable because it's not too fancy collector's grade. It's just a great sounding guitar, not like a 53, which I can't afford at this point. It's too expensive. So the 67 is a great sounding Tele. Maybe I can show you next week, and for a good price. Yeah, and Pete, yeah, and then while being there in the valley, NAMM's rare guitars, but I think this was on the Sunday, so the shop was closed, and unfortunately NAMM is in hospital, so I hope he gets well soon. But this is all kind of very close. And by the way, Pete Thorne's place is directly near Dave Friedman's workshop. So, you know, this industry is so small and people are so well connected in a way because it's kind of one neighborhood. Yeah, NAMM's rare guitars, great guitars, but I was already sorted with my 67 Tele, no money for anything else. So I was lucky that the store was closed and I didn't get any more temptations. So what else do we have here? This was on the way to San Diego for like gig number 3, which is another great gig. And these are actually pictures that were taken there. When shop, come on, yeah, we good here. So this is me and Roni, and this is Larry Mitchell, who was flying home after that night, and the drummer, I forgot his name, from Rick Springfield's killer drummer. Here are some more pictures here in action. We had extra guests, local singers, and guess what? I didn't know any of the songs on the set list, so you had to play by ear, because we also played original songs. Larry again. We played original songs, and I've never heard before, because and then a guy showed up with the biggest car stereo ever, and he showed me like this was a transporter, like a thing, and the fan. The guy with the glasses was a fan. He saw that I was playing there, and then he simply came to the gig. Unbelievable. So, you know, it's always cool to have all these surprises. This is, by the way, the AMPX in our apartment. Any more interesting videos? We have tons of people checking out. Andrew Matthews coming. Then this was Lars from the UK doing interview. Then yeah, the Strandberg guitars being used a lot by the heavy guys, checking out our IRIDIUM test station. Somebody checking out the AMPX. This is, was it for Endertons or Guitar Interactive, some UK magazine? And then our dear friend Niels Finkeisen checking out the AMPX. And here we go, having fun. Yeah. How it feels. And as you can see, always people at the booth checking out Mercury, IRIDIUM. Then, you know, neighbor Trev Wilkinson, check out my new pickups or my new guitar. I tell you, there's so many things at the trade show. Yeah, you know, people with a vintage guitar, and here this guy is becoming a new BluGuitar artist, is playing like on the, what's the name for it? Trey Xavier trying out the AMPX. Everybody tried AMPX. There's videos, I have tons of videos. There's, you know, there's like jams that happened. This was a nice one. Perfecto, sorry, from his channel Man, I have so many pictures here. Here's some more things from the NAMM Jam. I can't even stop here. Killer photos, which I couldn't bring in the live stream anyway. So, talking about this was the way to San Diego. And by the way, San Diego, I heard, is hometown of Jennifer Batten. At least hometown where she grew up. And San Diego, south of Los Angeles, is like 1.5 hours drive. Seems to be a very nice city. And this is where we played, or where I played my third gig during that show. Yeah. Some more. We had a violin player too. I forgot about that. You know, tons of singers and yeah, all great players. I especially remember, well, how cool it was to just be on stage and play the whole evening without knowing any of the songs. Really amazing stuff that I'd never heard. It's like looking at the bass player. Where's the bass player actually? She's standing behind of me. She was a blonde girl. Yeah, she was so small, I must have covered her. Anyway, let's see. Here she is. See? She is that small. When I'm in front of her, you don't see anything anymore. So I was looking at her fingers a lot because that told me what key we were in and what's coming next. So she was a good help. Yeah. Same here. Yeah. See, I'm playing chords and she plays notes. Maybe it makes sense. Yeah. Okay, this is another, a typical next morning, I think it was, I had some free time doing my beach thing, which is Venice Beach. There's a nice bike trail, and I was doing that a few times with a push bike that I was renting. 2 hours, $22. Let's see what else we have from that trip. See, this is me on the bike, Venice Beach. One hand is my phone, and the other hand is, but sometimes I ride free hands. Yeah, okay, a little bit on the beach. Yeah, as you can see, the weather was a bit cloudy, and so maybe I thought it would be way hotter in summer, and I was wearing a jacket even then. I think it was like 20 degrees. We have much higher temperature here now in Germany, like 30 almost, or over 30, or we get very hot this weekend. Okay. End of pictures?
End of picture.
Cool. So this was a long line of pictures, so you see what's happening behind the scenes. And I met Tim Pierce, who actually caught COVID then and had to stay home. Otherwise, I would have visited him at his place. But I've been at his home 2 years ago. And yeah, this was on my wish list, which didn't happen. But anyway, so this was all the stuff. Let me check what's here in the chat. The Fender factory. Yeah, you are right. Will AMPX be at Guitar Summit? Of course it will. Did you meet Mark Agnesi? No, I didn't. Jules on bass. Welpton. Jules, that's the guy. His name. Okay, San Diego is a very cool area. It's a bit like LA, as in there's so many little towns. Yeah. San Diego has like many hills and valleys, and I think it's a very unique town. I've never been to a place that usually like town is like one big place, but this is kind of spread out in a beautiful nature with a super climate. They told me they have like the 4 seasons in one day, a spring morning, a warm afternoon, and well, they probably don't have snow there, but all the rest seems to be there. Yeah. So this was basically the stuff that I wanted to show you. I do have the AMPX here. If we want to talk a little bit more, you can ask me questions. Right after coming back to Saarbrücken, the first thing after arriving from Frankfurt Airport was having a meeting with our software engineer and discussing how to make progress on this. Yeah, it does live, and here we go. Yeah, we make a plan how to proceed with the project and what needs to be done and how to improve. So for me, the point is this big flagship that we are building here needs to be perfect for the next 10 years at least, because as I said in some streams before, this is a small company, BluGuitar, and I want to keep this as the highest level for BluGuitar as a flagship. So this is why we used a 16-core DSP, no compromise. So we are future ready and we can build up a system that gets powerful, more and more powerful every year with all the stuff that we will develop for this, I call it platform. Anyway, do we have some... Sean Pierce Johnson is here. Oh dear, the giant... Yeah, Mormon temple. So, I forgot to tell you about that we shot a video with a few sound where he was playing, Sean, at his place near Dana Point or Laguna Beach. I think that's if you head a little bit south of Anaheim, where the NAMM Show is, about like 30 minutes. Another beautiful place down there. And yeah, he had some time with the amp and did his thing, which was great because it's great to hear other players playing this amp. Check out his video. And then Perfecto, what's his channel? I think he's not finished his video, but I spent a lot of time. I think we've done too long, so he has to cut it into several episodes because we went through everything. And but this video was a lot about the AMP1s and not so much about the AMPX, the stuff I've done with Perfecto. But it needs probably more time for him to edit before he comes out. Well, there's so many comments here. Do we have questions? Let me see what's Mark Agnesi. Aha, Seele or Seli or Seli is any news on the digital effects section on AMPX? Are you working on Rhodosphere model right now? Haha, you wish. But to be honest, it is on my wish list. I show you my wish list because I'm always well prepared. And here we go. Leslie Rhodosphere, look here. Okay? So, tap tempo, dotted eights, and all these tricks is all there. Don't worry, guys. It will just take time. That's, I mean, the stuff is on your wish list. It's on my wish list, but it will take time to get things done. So I cannot promise. The only thing is, if it's on my wish list, chances are very high that it will actually happen. I want one, as you want it. So, George Palacios was the drummer. Thank you. Palacios. Yeah, this was the drummer. Yibi, good drummer. And we had fun. The ultimate guitar meets drum battle, which I love to do. Didn't happen that night, but that's on my wish list for this drummer. And by the way, this was so funny. When I came to this place in San Diego, the club owner told me the story. You are from Germany. I lived in Germany for a couple of years, and I asked him what he was doing. He was also playing in the band, musician, and playing in some ice hockey teams. And then I told him about that I was playing in Tic-Tac-Toe, and he started to sing Ich find dich scheiße. He knew the songs. You come to San Diego and somebody sings songs from a band you were playing in. This world is so small. So this was cool. Yeah. I see Kleber Kashima. Of course, I met Kleber at the show, and I'm sorry we couldn't have our beer drinking night because too busy, but next time we will do that. It was a pleasure, yeah. Yeah, but R&D is never free. When we do our R&D work, I mean, there's in the background, even when I'm on the show, my digital engineers, there are two, have been working on stuff. And actually tomorrow there's another meeting that we will spend so I can explain more about the user interface, how I want things to switch and how to have the double functions, and we work on details and implement more stuff. The list is long. Trust me, the list is long, and it's still a long way to go, but we are working full time, already crazy good guys, and we will get there. So what else? Kleber, it was a pleasure to meet you at NAMM. Cool. Silent Trouble. I just ordered my first AMP1 Mercury. So excited. I have a question on that. Yes. Once I accept half power mode, does the amp stay there? Yes. Or will it have to push the button every time and turn when you turn on the amp? No. That's a very good question. If you have one of my products, and it doesn't matter which one, my rule is always, if I disconnect the power or if I switch it on off, it has to come back on with exactly where it was left. Which means if your AMP1 Mercury edition, in this case I assume, Mercury, yeah, is switched to 50 watts mode, it will stay in 50 watts mode unless you switch it back to 100 watts, which is the same procedure, but this is it's memorized. And I found this super important because I've been on stages where the voltage like drops because power generators were too weak and the light show came on and whatnot. The band is getting louder, so the voltage drops. And then when your intelligent programmable product switches off because the power is too low, and then the power comes back on and you start with a clean sound on preset 1, that sucks when you're in the middle of a solo. So anything I design, it has to come back to original where it was. And anything kind of unplugging the power by accident and just getting it back, even if it's just a few seconds or if it's long, it has to come back at the same exact position. And for me, it's so important because it should feel and react like an analog amp. Like the good old amps, you set them, you forget them, plug it in, play, next time switch it on, they are exactly at the same thing. And this is the same even if I do an AMPX. So AMPX should always reboot itself, or when it's switched on, at the same setting I had before it was switched off. That's part of my philosophy. So, any treble boosters in AMPX? Well, of course, treble booster, my good old Rangemaster, the original one, OC44. It is, I think it's already in there. I have done a quick one before the NAMM, but it was not so hard to get one. So yeah, treble booster should be in there. And here you see the picture, and you can see the treble booster on the left of the AMPX. And then you see the yellow comp, the compressor, which is also there. And then you see other pedals. And that's another good news. I spoke with a few other companies that make pedals to get them on board, that we really get their pedals into AMPX, and we can then officially double check if they are happy with it, and then they will get some money for it. As you have to buy it, but for me it's important that our little community of pedal builders is not screwed. If I use a pedal from some small boutique amp builder, I want to pay them money. I'm probably not doing it with the big corporate companies, because they will send their lawyers first. I actually received a letter from one of those companies. So there's, for me, like two categories of people in the industry. There are the small friends that I highly respect, and of course I respect the big companies as well, but I'm not so big friends with the companies that send their lawyers. What for? I mean, if I really, really hurt somebody, I feel bad about that. And I'm not doing this on any purpose, and I never would. But for me, if people get kind of weird and angry just because they don't get it, I'm not happy. And so I have to sort things out behind the scenes. And in the end, you will see all the stuff that I'm doing is not offensive. And if anyone has a problem, please let me know. We are humans, we can talk, and there's no reason to communicate on this lawyer level. In the end, if you get on that level, everybody loses, and the lawyers are the only people that win money. But, you know, this is what comes with business. If you do business, there are people that send you lawyers. And the product, AMPX, is not even out yet. Anyway, okay, more positive. Any trouble? How many your flights from LA? So we've been 4 people, and we kind of went in like 2 parts. We all came. Rich was even there before us. So myself, Kai Sonnhalter, and Lukas, we came on a flight, and Rich being there, we were 4. And then Kai and Lukas went back home to Germany first, and me and Rich were left for another almost week there. So, any more questions? Now is the chance. Eddie Garcia of Plastic Culture was, of course, the black-haired endorsee that I didn't know the name of at the beginning of the show. Thanks, guys. You all know more than I do. My brain is full. I need a few more megabytes for... But I tell you, what's not in my head, it's in my phone. And it remembers a lot on my wish list and things like that. If you look at all my stuff that I'm working on. This is all different projects. I'm not talking about one thing. If I open one of those, it's all a complete project. So too many things in my head, and all the stuff that I need to memorize is in my phone these days. And forgive me for too many names. I remember the faces though. That's a good thing. I know my visual memory is way better than my words. Words don't come easy. Maybe you know that song. I mean, it's such a cheesy song from some Italian Schmalzsänger, the Germans would say. I don't know. It's probably a very meaningful ballad for women. For me, it's almost comedy. I see. Episode 111 in Germany, that's called a Schnapszahl. So we all know what Schnaps is. Schnaps is the drinking stuff, but this is pure water with a little bit of bubbles, as we call it Sprudel in German. And I have a sip of that. Internationally speaking, it's sparkling water. See, natürliches Mineralwasser. Sparkling water. And Schnaps is the stuff that you, distill maybe is the English word, you get out of fruits, which is a high percentage alcohol. And a Schnapszahl is kind of 66, 55 and 111. So we can get all drunk on this Schnaps and the Schnapszahl. Yeah, Blug Curacao. Yeah, that's a good one. I'm collecting names that are connected with Blug. That's easy for remembering because I remember my name. So that's why we called it Blug Prince and Blugipedia, which was actually another suggestion here from a guy from Stuttgart, which I met at a gig later on. And sorry, I forgot his name too. But he invented Blugipedia. So, last question. Let me scroll down through the chat. Great pronouns. Wait a minute. Good question. Where did we stop? Schnapszahl. Will there be a power module to go stereo? Most amp builders tell me by 2 or 3. Or WDW. What's this? Wet, dry, wet. I think wet, dry, wet. So, let me explain how I thought of AMPX. For me, AMPX is like the essentials. Let's put it that way. It's the essentials. If you have an AMPX with you, you have tons of amplifiers, tons of effects, and it has all the outputs that you need to be good to go. So it does have one single speaker out, because if there's a speaker cabinet available to you, I enjoy real speakers more than full range speakers or active power amps. So for me, the best thing is to drive a real guitar speaker. Why? Because a real guitar speaker is hard. The suspension kind of thing is hard, and the speaker is designed to make the noise that we all know as the electric guitar sound, and the speaker actually is like 50% of it all. So I always have one guitar speaker or a cabinet or several guitar speakers, but it's one sound that I use on stage. And even if I would use several sounds from different speaker simulations, I would still have one guitar speaker. That's my personal taste. I mean, maybe you want to have different simulations and different speakers on stage. There's two ways. One would be you physically switch from one speaker to another speaker, which is like you have a, let's say, a greenback loaded 4x12 or a BluGuitar, whatever cabinet for that one sound. And then you have like a relay switch and you go for another cabinet, open back Fender style, Jensen loaded cabinet for your clean tones. And then you could have a third one, but who is doing that? I don't know. Not many people. There used to be a few guys out there that had cabinets switched in the past, or even full amps, like they had a Roland Jazz Chorus for the clean tone, and they switched to their Marshall with a 4x12 for their dirty tones. That's possible. With AMPX, it would be possible if you have the different cabinets, and you can do the same. But this is switching speakers, all mono. Now we're talking about stereo. There is the stereo, like direct outs. So if there's like two, where's the camera here? If there are like two channels free on your mixing console, you can always go and have the stereo ping pong delay for the audience, and you are fine with a mono mix on your one guitar cabinet. That's the way how I personally would do it, because I'm too lazy to get like two speakers with me in my car. But if you want to drive like two, well, speakers, you should get an external power amp and drive a second speaker. Or you get another simple combo for wet, dry, wet, or you have to get two. With AMPX, I have 5 speaker emulations at hand, giving me all the options. I can even go everything, every output has its own speaker emulation. Just imagine you would have a full range cabinet for the built-in power amp of AMPX. You could have like one of those camber cabinets with K, with a Celestion full range speaker, if you want to do that, and use a speaker simulation on the speaker out of AMPX, and then the cabinet, which is full range, and the speaker emulation will give you the sound of the emulated speaker coming from AMPX. You can give the same signal in stereo to the front of house guys on the XLRs, and you have another line out where you can have another 2 speaker emulations to do whatever. So it's all possible in a way. It's just what you need. But I also thought of people that have like the AMPX and have another main cabinet, and then have just like wet, dry, wet, and have 2 other guitar amps, like little combos maybe, stuff that you already have, and that you simply hook up to the line outs. So you have like wet, dry, wet, and you send for yourself on stage. So you have the full Steve Lukather experience on stage, and then you have the stereo line outs, which is what you get out of like a 3-way system mixed to stereo, because this is all that a PA can take. And you send those 2 XLR outs to the PA. So you have like the maximum spread on stage, and the guy at the PA has the stereo signal of it that he can use to put in the mix for the band. So basically we have all the options. This was this question, I hope. Wait a minute. Blue cursor, thanks question. Would it be killer to have 3 loops in the AMPX for your own special pedals? Or can you use the looper kit with it? Ha! That's a great thing. Yes, you can use our Remote 1 with it, and the Remote 1 has a looper kit. So you have your built-in pedals in AMPX, and then you can actually have more pedals being switched with the looper kit and the Remote 1. And then you I think it's getting to the craziest guitar systems ever. Then you have a lot of pre-pedals because you have like 4 loops in the looper kit, and I'm using more than 4 pedals in my looper kit on my current AMP1 board because I kind of have themes. Like in one loop, there is, for instance, an overdrive and a phaser for my Hendrix kind of things. And then there is another loop that only has 1 pedal and another loop that has 2 pedals again. So that's all possible with the looper kit. And if you combine the looper kit and the AMPX, of course, endless possibilities. So, yep, that's possible. Where are we? 3 loops. Well, there is the built-in loop on the AMPX, which is the return, and it's a mono send. Here's the camera. Mono send stereo return. So this return here is stereo, as the line out is also stereo. So these both could have the stereo sign. But this is a post loop. So anything after the amp section and before the speaker emulation. So AMPX itself has like modulation, delay and reverb in that stereo post section, and you can bring in whatever pedal that creates the sounds that you don't find in the AMPX, and yeah, can program it with your patches on the AMPX. So the loop is programmable, and then there's MIDI out that will switch your effects devices and bring in even several programs from your external pedal, whatever. It's a lot of things are possible. Let me see what else. And by the way, there is no extra pre-loop before the amp stage in AMPX. 2 reasons. The first reason is my circuitry in the AMPX is mostly analog, which is the input section to adjust for pickups with the noise gate and stuff. Then there is a wah, analog wah module, which is a real circuitry that can emulate all kinds of wah-wahs. Then there's the boost section that can emulate all kinds of boosts. And there is the drive section that does boosts and overdrive pedals. And all these can be used at the same time. So you already have like 4 pedals at hand creating tones inside the AMPX before we go to the amp section of AMPX. My idea was to keep that kind of a closed system. I know many people will moan now, oh, I want my blah 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 at this position. Well, with the looper kit and the remote 1 and the remote, the looper kit and the remote, you can do stuff like that and program it. It's possible. But the reason why I made this a closed system is very simple, because this is all super high impedance, which means most sensitive part of the signal chain. And if you have that open, we will get tons of people complaining about noise, about I have a problem with this, and I just wanted to avoid that. Plus, I'm totally convinced that this, what's in there, is enough. If you need more, use an extra pedal. And I didn't talk about the pre-effects that are digital but pure analog dry signal, which includes all the modulation like chorus, flanger. So like the dry signal is all analog, and then the effect signal is mixed on top of that. This is how a chorus works and the flanger works, and the delay as well. And I have the option of one slot that is totally digital in case I need to make an effect that you would not get out of what's already in there. So I have all the options. And this is why I decided to make the concept as it is. I know people want stuff that is not stupid, but I don't want to create products that cause more problems than needed. And I still believe that we always find a good solution, even for the specialists of you that want something that is not in there, like right at hand. And therefore I'm here. Let me know, and I tell you the way how to do it. And in most cases, I'm sure it can be done in a reasonable way. Just compare this little, I have to say monster again, because this used to be several refrigerator size things, and this is now 40 centimeters from here to there. Look at this. This is 40 centimeters. This is all it takes today, including everything: pedals, amps, post effects, switchers, and a tuner and whatnot. Everything. So if you need more than this, then you can still have the wings, put something on there, and if that's not enough, then do a pedal board. We all live with pedal boards, and especially the guys that want that extra stuff, they can still make a pedal board with the AMPX and get that stuff. But I think the amp offers so many options already that 99% of all people don't even think of stuff like, I need that extra loop. We'll find out. And of course, we have our weekly chat or live stream, and we can double check. Okie doke, more questions here. There was one. Poo Ninja, I have used a pair of 2x12s for wet with my 4x12. Man, this guy travels with a lot of speakers. My 4x12 days, which I loved, are over because it's too much for my convertible car. If I want to transport my 4x12, I need to have top down. And the last time I really did it was for Stuart Copeland, the drummer in the Police. And guess what? He was a nice guy. He was strong and helped me to get my 4x12 out of my car. But my 4x12 days are over. But back to the Poo Ninja. Yeah, if you go and have that kind of system, it's killer, of course. You have 8 speakers. You have like 4x12 for the dry sound, and then 2 12s each for the effects left and right. Wall of sound, literally. Okay, what are we doing here? Somebody's asking me, official POA, whoever that is. First of all, thank you for making your products and not selling out the one of these major developers that are keeping technology from the masses. Yeah, okay, I'm just doing my thing. That's good. Got a scoot, yeah, this weekend, okay, keep on rocking this guy. Do I need a load box in order to run AMP1 into a switcher system and still get the full sound out of the technology? No, you don't need a load box. AMP1 question again, or it's a general AMP question for my AMP1s. For me, the thing is, we have AMP1 and AMPX does not need any load. So you can connect the speaker and just use the recording out or the direct outs, and nothing is damaged, no matter how high you put the master volume, and get power amp saturation, even without a load. Saying that, there is still a little advantage of having a real speaker connected. I'm not talking about load. Load boxes are trying to emulate real speakers, and most of them are, to me, yeah, just something, but it's basically a fixed EQ. You can get way cheaper with just an EQ pedal. A real speaker is a bit more. it is that curve that a speaker or an EQ can create after a speaker, impedance curve, but there's a little bit more interaction of the speaker. So if you can afford to use a speaker with my amps, go for it. But in any case, it is not dangerous to use the amp with or without a load in a switching system. Doesn't matter. Just mind, if you can afford to have a real speaker connected with it while you're playing, it enhances the sound by 2%. And I'm all about 2% or even 1%. What else? Mario Ritter with the AMPX sound better with an active load like AMP1. AMPX has a different technology. Don't even worry about loads and don't worry about the recording outs, because I've done something different. Even if there's no speaker connected, AMPX will sound killer. We will see why in some future episodes coming in a few months when everything is finished as it should be. But trust me, I found a way how to do the direct sound on the next level. You don't have to worry. AMPX is plug, play, forget, perfect. In any situation. Hello Thomas, I watched your videos. I have a Mercury AMP1 and its own features. I wonder if the amp will be like an amplifier simulation. AMPX is not an amplifier simulator. It is an amplifier, but it can be any amplifier that I design it to be. That's the new thing about AMPX. AMPX using a similar technology like AMP1, just on steroids, which means it feels and sounds like a real tube amp or like an AMP1, but I have a higher flexibility that gives me the opportunity to create or recreate any kind of amp that I have seen, and whatever I can offer will be available, and that you can use on the AMP1. So it is kind of an amp simulator being a real amp, if that makes sense for you, because it's a real amp. Input to output, all analog, like a real amp, not like an amp simulator with a power amp. That's a different thing. That's other companies doing. Rob Lucas, Thomas, will you still use AMP1 Mercury for a certain situation now that the AMP1 will you only that once you get... you will see in the future anyhow. AMP1 is designed by myself, for myself, and I will simply use my AMP1 still because it is a great amp. If I don't need all my effects with me, I play AMP1. Why not? Hey, when I joined the gigs here at NAMM or in any of these situations, I was playing through Roni Lee's AMP1 without any extra pedals. I just went on stage, plugged my guitar in there, and happy days. So AMPX just gives me more if needed, and if it's not needed, I bring one guitar and an AMP1. It's still good, and especially if you are happy with fewer effects, with not the whole kind of tap dance scenario you can do, why not using AMP1? So, AMP1 will not be outdated by AMPX. First, it's twice the price, and second, it's way lighter. It's half the weight, even less than half the weight, and it is not better. It's just different, and that's the same thing like with any tube amp. Is a Mesa Boogie better than a Fender? Well, no. A Fender is, if you like the Fender better, then the Fender is the better amp for you. And that's the same thing like with my amps, as they are on the same level as real tube amps. They feel and they sound exactly the same, quality-wise. And then it's the same decision that you have to take like when you compare real old school tube amps if you prefer that particular orange over the Marshall. Some people hate Marshalls. I love them. And this is how it is. So AMP1s, they will be continued as AMP1s. And I'm just talking about the exciting new technology. So I'm always excited about my new stuff. But it is... it's like my Strat. If I play my Strat, it's the best Strat. I don't buy another one. I have one, and I have a spare one. And other guitars are good for other people or for other purposes. That's why I have a collection of guitars. But I gig only with one. And if I have a simple gig, I play with AMP1, even in the future. You will see. So, official POA. Basically, I am wanting to run a pair AMP1 into a GC switcher. Use the torpedo. This way I can switch between the amps. No problem. You can do that. No problem. So AMP1 sounds better with a load, and AMPX will better. Okay, Mario Rütter. So AMP1, let's put it that way. AMP1 sounds better with the load when using the direct out, and AMPX doesn't need that. This because I found a way how to trick physics. And by the way, that's AMP1 sounds better with load. That is the same case for any tube amp. AMPX is just the same design, but with a few enhanced solution. It doesn't sound better, but on AMPX you can have the same quality without the speaker, because I found something that emulates it on the level that I say it's good enough, speaker not needed. Good news, makes your life easier. That was the reason for it. Will there be a software editor for AMPX? Not at the beginning, because it takes another shitload of work. And so I don't see it. Plus, the AMPX is easier to operate than most of the digital devices, which have a lot of menus, and you will find it's probably not needed. We will talk about this when the amp is out and people complain about it. And we have the time to do something. At this point, no way, because no time. Drewer says, so the new AMPX only will give you more effects. Right, and more different amp sounds if you need them. But if you have a great sound with your AMP1, you're done. And if you don't need effects like most killer players, Angus Young, Malcolm Young, Keith Richards, effects, not needed. Channel switching, not needed. So let's be realistic about it. How many guitar players do need the whistles and bells of AMPX? Well, we all think we want and need everything, but in reality, maybe less than 50% needed. Of course, it's great to have the options with you. This is why the product makes sense, and some people need the options. But I believe a lot of people will be super happy with AMP1s as they are, because there is nothing that they miss. Maybe the tuner, yeah. But today we have nice clip-on tuners, or if you have a very professional band, you can even have somebody tuning the guitar for you. Anyway, so I'm back to the story. I'm not thinking AMPX is outdated. AMP1 is outdated by AMPX. No, it's a different product for a slightly different approach. Everybody is excited about it. But every day I get super positive feedbacks about AMP1s, because people finally understood what it means for them, that they have killer sounds, and if they found their sound with an AMP1 Mercury or IRIDIUM, that's all is needed. And then effects, matter of taste. Okay, any chance we will be able to buy AMPX before the end of the year? No. 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 I said it 3 times. I would like to see an AMP1 power amp only to expand for bigger stages or stereo. Yes, that's on my wish list too, but that's getting always postponed. All I can say, AMP1 is so small and compact. If you get an AMP1, you have a power amp. And the power amp is the biggest thing of AMP1 because a power amp needs a power supply, and AMP1 has a serious power supply. I mean, first it is universal power. Anywhere where you plug it in, it works. Second, it's true 100 watts on 16 ohms, not like most of the cheapos that have maybe 50 watt at 4 ohms, 25 watts kind of at 8 ohms, and 12.5 watt at 16 ohms. We have full 100 watt at 16 ohms, the headroom. And I believe that headroom is sometimes needed. And therefore I don't like amps with less power. A lot of people will disagree with me now because they say, oh, my 18 watt Marshall is loud enough. Yes, if that's what you're playing in your band, but then you come into a different situation where you need a clean sound with headroom, and then 18 watts is not enough. I've been there. I suffered. It's like, ouch. If you play blues rock, 18 watts, when it's all burning and cooking, good enough. But therefore, I believe that it's worth with my technology that is so efficient to go for the real deal, which is 100 watts. And the truth is, even an AMP1 makes 150 watts, and the AMPX can even deliver much more. And I just use the headroom and make it sound like a 100 watt tube amp. And yeah, I call it 100 watts because we know 100 watts tube is enough. So I would like to see AMP1 power amp. Okay, that's we had. Explaining AMP1 into blue box. Speaker out, not recording, sounds better with an additional load. Yeah, Mario Rüther, again, sure, but for example, AMP1 into a blue box speaker simulation sounds better with an additional load on your AMP1. Correct. As every standard tube amp sounds better with a real speaker connected and not a standard load box. Load box is never as good as a real speaker. Rob Lucas again. I really love tone of your BluGuitar Strat vintage models, Wilkinson. It sounds oriented to your 61. I bought one and noticed you play them at NAMM. Haha! Okay, yeah, I play them at NAMM. Battle Talk track, maybe I get an AMP1 S2, AMP1, and let AMPX set it by MIDI. Hardy O. Okay, so he's answering at Battle. Okay, like H Stompman with now no tube. Ha ha ha, yes. Poo Ninja, are beta tester applications available? So I already talked to some people for us being beta testers, and I'm very happy. We have a few beta testers at hand here in Germany, and they are, first of all, the guys I talked to, very experienced guys. They have they are using other digital products and amps, so they are very familiar with, Helix and Campers and Fractal and Quad Cortex and maybe software. And one of the guys is even a developer for Apple products. So a real developer. And at this point, I think I'm sorted, but in any case, Poo Ninja, I have you on the list if we need more. But for me, it's important to have high quality beta testers to give me high quality feedback. And I'm not worried about sound issues because that's something I know by nature. I'm more about beta testing software stuff because that's tricky. Some product complicated as this requires lots of software. Software can be buggy. Software should be clever. So I need people that understand the operation of this and other products and tell me if it's really doing it in a nice and smooth way. Oh man, I think how many hours did we stream already? Yes, 2 hours. Fuck. Hey Thomas, you turned really gray now. Yes, worries. You just matured. I always mature. Well, if I have more gray here, this is getting older. Should I throw my H9 Max as my Fender amp always for an AMPX? Hey, you should decide it the day when you have your hands on an AMPX, if this is the job doing for you. In theory, yes. In practice, you find out. Luna testing had... okay. René, I like your products. I'm very happy with mine. AMP1 Silver and Nano Cap, especially on the vintage channel with Boost. See, what's wrong about that? Even with the first amp that I released, the Silver Edition. And the vintage channel, as I always told people, is my favorite channel too. Why? Because it's so dynamic. It has the real feel of my old Plexi Marshalls. Some people that never played my old Plexi Marshalls don't know how good the AMP1 Silver is, because it's so close. And this is how old Plexi Marshall sounds. If you like a different sound, fair enough. But I like that worn out old Plexi Marshalls. And you can get it in an AMP1 Silver Edition. Luna testing is probably a noise for you. Must. But thanks for keeping us in mind. Okay, hey guys, I think I talked for 2 hours. Thank you very, very much, Wolfgang, who is usually streaming politicians. So that's the good news. Even politicians need live streams, and therefore some famous politicians probably were sitting here, presidents and whatnot. And Wolfgang, on short notice, I just called him. It's like, you know, Lucas, our live stream video expert, has COVID, he can't do it. And he just did it, you know. So thank him a lot. And he has been a great friend and mentor even in the past, on some of the things I have done with the symphony orchestras. I have played my DVD, my live DVD with the Saarländische Staatsorchester. This was without Wolfgang, but once he saw that and he thought, oh, the guitar fiddler and the orchestra is something that has a special value. I was invited on his idea to play for former Chancellor Merkel and also for some minister presidents of the states, of the German states. So yeah, and Wolfgang is a musician himself. He's a killer organ player, and he also used to be a dealer, a music dealer. So, you know, now being in politics, whatever, but we all have the heart at the right fleck. I don't know what this means in English here, which means even if you are a politician and working maybe for some party, we all are friends because we are musicians. and that's the good news. I think some of the politicians even like music, and people behind the scenes love and enjoy music and respect this kind of art and understand it. And this is why we are friends for decades. And he remembers me from my very old days when I was a teenager working in a studio in Bexbach. This is probably where you are from, right? No? Where are you from? Neunkirchen, okay. In Saarländisch we call it Neinkirche. As Germany has several Neunkirchen, I'm still wondering if it comes from 9 churches or no churches, because 9 is 9. 9 is no, but it could be we have no churches or 9 churches. It's definitely something with churches. But anyway, he was coming to the studio occasionally and saw young Thomas recording at Perky Park Music. That became famous for doing totally different kind of music. In the end, they ended up Booker Shade. I have to invite them because Booker Shade is kind of a techno act these days, doing big raves, and we actually play together. Another story. But, as you can see, this world is small. We all meet up, and it's good to have friends. So be nice, stay tuned. See you guys next week, and greetings to all of you. Enjoy. See you next week, same time from our studio then. Back again. Cheers.